Okay, so suppose you are getting this error in your application, which is
Mhm.
application context is getting failed. So what is the first
Mhm.
thing you will check in that application to make sure that what is the actual error?
So if context path is wrong, there might be a so first thing I would ask to check the URL if it is correct. So it is correct, then we'll go and check if there is a service is deployed with the same name. Then I'll check the service name which I have given at the time of calling. So is it the correct one? And if everything is fine, if service is deployed correctly on the on like if I'm using Eureka, if my service is properly attached and the service discovery name is correct and it is used in the correct manner, that's what few
Mhm.
things I will check.
So how does garbage collection prevent a Java application from going out of memory?
We can say it will help to prevent, but it cannot surely say that if JVM is so garbage collector is there, that JVM won't crash. It would happen, it would go out of memory. But what it does basically, now suppose I have a lot of data, like there are a lot of GC algorithms are there, and we can use it as per our convenience from Java 17. Lot of till Java 17 they are introducing new and new, but few I know like generation garbage collection algorithm. So what happens when our objects are dereferenced or they do not have any cyclic dependency or referencing, or it has been assigned to null. So it is of no use to us in a program. So in a first generation, it checks the age of that. So
Hmm.
basically, it is an aging principle. It swipes them. So what happens? JVM calls the GC internally, and GC will finalize those methods. So for JVM to collect those, finalize is there. So it will call all the data which is on the first swap. It will clear all the data which is no more a link, and those data which are linked, like then it would be moved to the first generation. So on the first instance, when JVM calls the sweep, so basically it is stop the world concept where everything will be stopped and all who are learned would be collected, and some of them would be moved to the first layer. From the first level, so next time when the JVM runs, maybe their use has completed or their cyclic dependency is over or their work is over, then that would be clear after their first move. And there are some data which would move to the permgen. So permgen is a permanent generation space which has been moved in the Java as a meta space in Java 8. But this memory are permanent, like our hash map is there, it would be there in the permanent generation all the time till the application gets closed. So whenever JVM removes the data, it basically frees your memory, it optimizes your memory, and it makes you available. From Java 8, it is, since you have meta space, you get a lot of space for permgen. Previously you need to define, now it takes the space of the Windows machine or the Linux machine wherever Java is installed. It takes that meta space and it utilizes as permgen. So these are the few things where garbage collection helps to improvise.
Can you use get method to create a resource rather than post method?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Are you sure?
Yeah, let's not tied anything to the method. Plus, you can also write anything to the method body as well with get as well. Even though like it should not be done, but yeah, it's possible to do that.
What is the difference between stack and heap area?
So heap will talk in terms of Java heap area. Heap can have it store the objects, and in stack we most of the time the method and our threads get piled up or stored, right? So in heap area, like we have different part. We have a permanent generation. Like, okay, but permanent generation will be before 1.8. After that, that is also gets segregated from that heap area. So like if we talk about the Java heap, all the memory management of Java, then it has a heap and the stack, where heap is consist of, it has a like different survival stages and hidden spaces there, and we have old and new spaces. So it's on the basis of when the object has to store, it should be in the heap always, and the threads and the method area is on stack. They are get stored in the stack basically.
Do you know any example of functional interface?
Yes. Like so, in the threads, we are using that runnable interface, right? So after that one, it we have the one single abstract method, which is a run method.
Yes.
So that is the example for the functional interface and
Yeah.
the single
So
abstract method.
that functional interface is representing a functionality that it is running a thread. That's why it has only a single method, run method. Okay, but in general, whenever
Yes.
you are adding a default method in a interface, the default method was introduced because, like, suppose some interfaces are already written in your code, and now you want to add one more functionality. Functionality means some method you want to add, some piece of code you want to add in that interface. But the problem is, if you add that method in that interface, whatever classes which are implementing that particular interface, all the classes has to override that method as well. Okay, so to get rid of that, we have a default method. So you can add default method in the interface. If you want to like overriding it in the subsequent classes, you are fine. Sorry, if you don't want to do that, it is also fine. It won't break the existing functionality. While using executor framework, there is a way to create a single thread pool. I mean, what is the use of creating a thread pool which has only one thread? Is there any use
If you
case?
want to job like not parallelly but same, like one after another, if it is necessary.
Okay, but what is the use of creating a thread pool anyway for running a single thread?
You can pile up your jobs that you don't need to manage yourself. So you can create a thread pool of single thread, so that if you need the jobs to be executed like one after another, you want to pile up jobs, and then you need to execute one after another. And in that case, you utilize a thread pool of one single thread and utilize it.
What will happen if we put a key object in a hash map which is already there?
If you are passing in HashMap as any object as a key, so you made to be with the mutability concept. So you have to override the HashMap and the equals method. So if you only HashMap, it will not like in hashcode and equals method. Sorry, hashcode and equals method. So you cannot compare the object address. You have to compare the content inside the object. For that, in the equals method, you have to compare and be sure if having the same employee and the hash code should be different. So you have to implement different hash code logic there to do any prime number or anything. So hash code equals method you have to implement.
What are the coding standard you will follow to create a method?
Usually the coding standard usually follow things, right? Should be a readable, like if I'm going to create some related to insertion, I'm going to insert a book of entries, right? So I need to maintain the naming. Actually naming I need to focus, because the code should be readable also. So the time I need to make a book entry or a book insertion or insert book kind of thing, method name I need to mention, as well as I need to focus like no need to create a multiple parameters. So required parameter we need to pause. If the parameter is too high, right, we can go with the model. We can create a customized model. We can pass it like that. Other than all the methods, more than like 100%, if you are sure there is no exception comes, right, no need to write an exception. Otherwise, we need to handle exception. If it is a try catch or else in method level exception, whatever, but should handle the exceptions. Yeah, object creation also we need to reduce. Whenever if required, we can create the object. Otherwise, we need to reuse the existing object. So this is majorly we are following.
What is marker interface?
Marker interface are those interface which have no any body method method. So it's blank. I think this is a blank interface which have no any method.
Okay.
Like marker interface.
Yeah, serializable is marker interface. Clonable is also a marker. What is the use of marker interface?
Actually, if we have, suppose we have a class, then X class have implement the marker interface, then make own type, like we have the make the class object and like for that.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Suppose A is the class and implement the serializable, which is marker interface, and the object of a class, and pass system dot out of println pass A is the instance of serializable. So
you said it correctly that marker interface does not contain any method, any field, and any constant. It has nothing. It is just an interface, but it doesn't have anything in the body. So that is marker interface. But what is the use of not having anything? What is the use of that? So the use of that every marker interface has a name. At the end of name you will see able, clonable, serializable. Okay,
Yeah.
so JVM, the name are given purposefully, and by the marker interface JVM will know that these interface, I mean these classes are implementing these interfaces. That means in these classes there will be certain functionality will be used. So for example, I will take example of clonable. So if you are implementing clonable, that means JVM will understand, JVM will know that this particular class has to do something with clone or cloning the object. JVM will know that these classes will do certain functionality. That's why we are implementing a marker interface here. Okay. So in the
Okay.
case of clonable, to clone any object you need clone method, and clone method resides in object class.
Object class.
Object class.
Yeah.
Okay, so object
Yeah.
class is available for everyone, every class in
Yeah.
the Java. So clonable
Okay.
interface just tell you that this particular class will do certain functionality. That's it. And to
Okay.
perform that functionality you have a method which is clone, which is available in the object class. Have you used any kind of messaging service like RabbitMQ, ActiveMQ, or any Kafka or anything?
No, we utilize IBM MQs, and yeah, I've heard about Kafka. I've started once up, but I like not use it much.
Okay, so in your environment, how you are testing your IBM MQ services? If you are consuming that or producing that, how you are testing the one part? Suppose consuming them.
So that can be done through unit test cases very easily, because with unit test cases we are only tracking one part of the component. So we assume that we'll be getting a proper message, because unless until then you want to, like, Spring would not redirect it to your actual function. We will just execute, like, what happens if this method would be executed. In this case, if it gets a message, that is what we try to simulate by writing the unit test cases,
Okay.
and like not having active MQ, because it is like a little slower. So it is better to write test cases for like one window function.
Can you tell me the difference between fail fast and fail safe collection?
So fail fast and fail safe. It's the difference is fail fast is whenever the any issues in occur in the collection, it throw the exception. For example, iterator. If we use the iterator and we iterate the number of the elements over there, and while the iterating the elements, we when we are try to modify it, it will throw the exception that is cannot modified exception, and that is the exception thrown by the fail fast. And fail safe is the like we alternative at the same time we can iterate the elements, and or we can change it, or it automatically handle the that situation. So the iterator is the fail fast, and enumerator is a fail safe using in the collection.
Okay. Can you tell me how HashMap internally works?
So in Java 8 or Java 7?
Java 8.
HashMap, actually, first of all, it is using array list for storing array as indexing, and for storing double linked list they are using. So first of all, whenever you are creating any put method, it will first of all it doing the hashing part. Hashing part is nothing but finding the creating the hash address for that key. So they are using the hash code method of the object class. After the finding the creating that indexes, and go to the that array indexes and storing the element in the double linked list. And where you are having the like a first four nodes is there, like a first the address, and second is the keys, third is the value, and fourth one is the next node addresses. So basically they are storing. If you are doing like the same key you are putting, then again hash collision can be happen, and through the equals method they can be find out which indexes should be. If it is the same indexes and hash collisions happen, then if the value is same, then it will be override. If it is the value is different, that to the next node. And in concept to Java 8, if the hash collision is happen regularly, so there is a tree five threshold limit of 8. So whenever it is come to the 8 times the collision is happening, then your double linked list is converted to the tree set, binary tree. And in between that, if you are deleting some of the element, if it is like in the threshold limit comes to 6, then it will convert to the again binary to the that linked list. It depends upon the collision part.
Can you please tell me what is singleton?
Singleton, you can create only one object for that particular.
How can you achieve this design pattern? What things
Okay,
you need
okay,
to take care or
okay.
do?
Okay, actually, singleton, you can create only one object, and in singleton class, you have to private static member, private static singleton object you have to create, okay, and private constructor is there. Okay, also get instance method is there. You can access based on that.